Thanks so much for the resub. Easy mid. 6 months. Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm still doing some like setup stuff, so I'm not paying attention to the chat right now, but welcome everyone.
But unlike you,
Oh, my voice is duped. There's a reason. Hold on. Okay, how about now? My voice should no longer be duped. I was like running into like tech issues. I was trying everything possible to fix it. Okay, perfect. Last time I had this issue, weirdly, when I set it to something, when I put a setting that duplicated my voice, it made it singular the last time I had this problem, so I tried that again before fixing it. Anyway. It's time. Hello, 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 hello. My God. What a, oh man. What a day. What a week. Hello everyone. Big Peen, Big Pig Venus. That's probably why I should be saying Bennis. Like Sleepy did the other day. Sephiroth, Rufus, Jake Lloyd, Kafka. I just need to start calling you something else. Big Pig. That's it. Drake Sparky, MT Mitchell, Gordon, Stowick, Puppy Chew, Rollin, Tyler Hepner, what's going on? It's a whole bunch of you. Red Mage, Easy Mid, thank you again for the sub. RZ Cozy Gaming, what's going on? I really hope we get to see something before Summer Games Fest. I doubt it. I'm not betting on anything before Summer Games Fest. But hello everyone. Sleep Easy, what's going on? Sort of the man of the week. I thought I was gonna be spending all of the weekend. Okay, first of all, again, if you're here afterward, timestamps will be down below. I thought this week I was going to be working on like a trailer analysis. I really thought I was gonna work on hold on, get music. I really thought I was going to be working on like trailer analysis. Oh, thank you so much. XYCon or Zycon for subscribing. And Days 3 minutes ago on YouTube. I really thought I was going to be spending a lot of this weekend editing a video about the trailer, like analyzing the trailer, doing like it's been years since I've had the opportunity to do a trailer analysis video. So I was really looking forward to it. And that hasn't been the case. What has been the case instead is I have been spending the weekend editing another video starring Sleep Easy, who's in chat. If any of you were here on Thursday, it was very disappointing that we didn't get a chance to get the trailer and talk about it and analyze it and react to it, all of that jazz. But I ended up having a really great conversation with Sleep Easy, which is kind of to be expected. But this one was a real cook, I thought. I know a lot of you, a good amount of you were in chat. So you may have been here for it, but I've been editing it for the past pretty much every day since Thursday. So while I really started Thursday night after work, stopped editing around like 2 a.m. Friday night. Then last night I stopped editing around like 2 a.m. Friday night after editing pretty much all day, with the exception of like going to get coffee with a friend around like noon. Aside from that, I've just been editing. And let me show you, hold on real quick, what I've been doing. And we'll watch a couple of the clips. I gotta do the right thing. Let's go over here. Or rather, hold on. Right here. And then I'm going to need a display capture for this one. Okay. Move this back. So you should all be able to see this. Transform. Fit the screen. So I've been working on this edit of my conversation with, let me bring chat back up, at least viewable to me. I've been working on this all weekend, which is an edit of my conversation with Sleep Easy. And this is like a little bit of a peek behind the curtain as to how this happens and gets done. So obviously our conversation was just, you know, first of all, it was actually the sound mix or the sound sync with Sleep Easy's voice was off, but I fixed it in editing. So now when he talks, it actually matches his mouth, as you'll see here. If it plays.
It's a full-blown, it's a situation now where we have moved.
As you can see. But I started cutting in, like, when you see this final video, there'll be music laid in, and there'll be a lot of like B-roll, so like additional footage, kind of related to the things that we talked about.
The less.
And I know not everyone was around on Thursday. I know some of you were here live. I know some of you were watching the VOD. So some of you have seen this, but I know as someone who consumes too much FF7 content that it's always fun to have something to sort of like put on in the background, especially just to like, sometimes you just need a fix of Final Fantasy VII, right? So I've gone back and I've rewatched conversations with Max and Sleep Easy and yada yada. So it's always fun to sort of like have this, have like an edited version of these conversations. So I'm working on that. I'm going to split them up into two videos. One that is me and Sleep Easy talking about the state of play, disappointment, and like what could happen next and what the trailer can be like. Really our conversation segmented down into like those two things. Like first we talked for like an hour and a half, and I've edited some of it down. But we talked for like an hour and a half on like, what do we think could be in a potential trailer? Why do they handle it this way? It was all related to that. And then we started talking about part 3 stuff. And so that'll be another video. So there'll be 2 videos coming your way like this. Again, this is 2 days worth of editing, so there's still a bunch to do. I want to get it out pretty quick. My crazy crackhead hope is to finish this video tonight, so that, because I know people want, you know, people who weren't there, it's just say, I'm sure it would, the sooner to Thursday that this video comes out, the more fresh it's on people's mind, and they're like, oh yeah, why wasn't it there? And I think there's a lot of potential perspective in this conversation. Yeah, it was a fresh conversation. It's actually new territory. It feels like with Remake Project Story as a project. Thank you so much. I'm okay with not getting a reveal. Hamaguchi already teaching us acceptance before even part 3. I'm in a brand new fresh headspace inside stream. I wish it would tell us the title, as they have decided on it, apparently. Yeah, it sucks to have to wait literally like 4 months, 100+ days to even get that. I really love the stream on Thursday, especially the discussion after the state of play. Thank you. Yeah, it was such a good discussion, like in the light of like how disappointing it was to not get something, just to like have that conversation. I was like, man, this is really good. It was like therapeutic even for me. So I assume for some of you, it probably felt that way too. I was hoping to see something in state of play, since apparently they've been a polishing stage for a while. And yeah, we'll talk about that for sure. Hey, what's up, Heckman? So there'll be, the video will essentially be like this. So it'll be our conversation, but it'll be zoomed in so you can see us, relevant footage, so you can
have time to
track
just
the conversation.
Be mysterious.
So like right here.
And the more time that goes by, the less you have time to just be mysterious, and the more time that they need to just laying out hit after hit and getting us like extra hyped for this thing. And for sure, now it just feels like there's not enough time. It feels like in the same way that the second trailer kind of opened up the game for us and we just started seeing all of this stuff that we were so excited about. That's where we've skipped to that chapter. We've skipped to that chapter. We need to see these things.
They're like things they also cut in here. Which, hold on, where was it? Was it here? Yeah. Gucci said, what people have said, he said, is that we'll hear more about FF7 Remake Part 3 than ever before. I've heard like multiple like podcasts, like Kind of Funny was talking about it and whatnot. They were like, they were joking. They were like, well, we haven't heard anything, so of course it'd be more than ever.
Hamaguchi did say we'll hear more about FF7 Remake Part 3 this year than ever before.
Wow.
Than ever before.
We didn't hear anything before.
But more than ever before.
You could say the words Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3, and that's enough. That's more than what we heard before about it.
But what he actually said was we will hear more. I mean, it was a joke from Blessing there, but it is true. Like, you could say that, and that would be more than we did here. But either way, there was like some misreporting that I think like set different expectations than maybe we should have had. I talk about a lot of stuff. I do my editing shit, as you all know. And it's been fun. I've realized that I've gotten much faster at editing than I remember. Like, I just remember the hell that the Rebirth video was, and it actually makes me hopeful to get videos out sooner. There's like another part I want to play. This is good context that we'll talk about in a little bit, but in terms of like Summer Games Fest and why that's a good opportunity.
The Summer Games Fest thing, way more likely then is that that's the only thing coming up that is as big, and it is bigger, and it's getting bigger every year. It just,
look at that stat. Jumps 89% to record 50 million live streams. That was last year's State of Play. So in terms of the context of the audience that they could reach in like a State of Play, I mean, in a Summer Games Fest, it's potentially massive. And I would imagine that would be really attractive to them. Also, that this like the animation of the highlighter, the little highlighter animation, that took me so long to figure out when I was making that Rebirth video, and now it's like second nature. So I really can and should pump out videos a little bit faster. Where was another part that was like a good thing to point out? You guys are, noted in chat every now and then, as you'll see here. Sephiroth in chat said June is so far. Yes,
it is.
It is a little meta, but you guys are in the video as well. Because I feel like that's really the value of streaming, is like having you guys and having the conversation and playing off of you guys. And I know that sometimes I get into these like presentation sort of modes. But it's really the value of streaming versus like me just editing a video, right? Like when I'm editing a video, like the Rebirth video, that's really about my perspective. But when I'm streaming, I think it's almost like my duty. Like, what is the added value of streaming is like you guys and your perspective. But there's a lot of good stuff. This moment was cool. So this referenced something that happened in the pre-show.
And do what we were talking.
Me and Sleepy's at one point were like, Sleepy's, he makes a joke. He's like, well, this is perfect because now they can pull the trailer that they had prepared for the State of Play and do what we propose.
It's becoming a struggle, but I will say that that gives them more time to pull the trailer that they were going to announce here and do what we were talking about at the beginning.
Oh,
so
sure. Yeah.
I think they probably heard us speaking about it, and they were like, we got to pull this shit right now. We can't do that.
Rebirth sets up, like Rebirth seems to set up. Oh, it's kind of going the same way, and in the end, twist us. I got a super chat, €10 or €10 super chat from Jincy. Remake opens with the bird of prey in flight. Rebirth with white feather. Do you think part 3 will carry this flying feather motif into the opening or not? Also, will it open in Midgar for part 3? And to build on that, the first teaser trailer for Rebirth also highlighted the white feather falling. So a great question, and I think a perfect question for Sleep Easy.
Yeah, I think that they should absolutely continue with the motif of the feather. And I think if you were fucking awesome, like I think that Square Enix is, they would have the white feather falling into the snow and have it be stepped on. That's how the trailer starts. Is the feather falls and then is slow reveal of our characters in the snow. Snow is awesome. Snow feather.
So it was cool that I was able to like include that earlier part in the edit. What's going on, Grant? Let me see, anything else worth showing real quick? That was a good point by Espresso.
Was like, okay, we're not going to be.
Sorry. I'm just like double checking stuff. Probably the coolest one, real quick, is this one where we ended up watching the trailer together. Sleepy's. No, it was awesome. Yeah. We're going to rewatch that 2015 trailer together. Because Sleepy brought up this trailer and how it could inform what they do with part 3 reveal and trailer. So when we were watching it on stream, it looked like this, where you could see it was just like this tiny box. A lot of you were here. But you see this, like, we just had the video down in the corner. So with the power of editing, I was able to make it look like this, which is great.
Long ago, we looked upon a foreboding sky. The memory of the star that threatened all burns eternal in our hearts. In its wake came an age of silence. Yet with each fond remembrance, we knew those encountered were not forgotten.
Oh my God, the music!
That someday we would see them again.
The fucking song!
Perhaps it was no more than wishful thinking.
God, this is so Sephiroth coded. Like, it's obvious, but god damn. Because this fucker's remaking things.
Oh no, the game's never gonna come out. Tetsuya Nomura is directing it.
After the long calm, there are now the beginnings of a stir. The reunion at hand may bring joy. It may bring fear. But let us embrace whatever it brings. For they are coming back. At last, the promise has been made.
Chills.
That shot. That fucking shot. That fucking shot at the end. Do it like that, Square.
Fuck.
Do it
okay,
the
so
fuck
it
like
would be
that.
bold to do it that way. It would be bold to do it that way just because, like, it's such a known thing. But imagine they built a trailer, constructed a trailer that had us questioning, is this part 3? Is this part 3? Holy shit, it's part 3! Like,
Yes. Yes. We need to, like, perfect example of how they utilize
Great
just
point.
the familiarity here. Because these things still hit the same way that they did back then. Like, seeing Barrett's gun arm is a tip. Seeing the Buster Sword is, like, enough. We do not need more than this to just be like, this fucking game is coming. And, like, this is the last, like, part of the journey.
what I've been thinking about this since, you know, editing the video a little bit more, because I say maybe they do it like later as like a final thing. The challenge is, like, this would have been the perfect time for this kind of trailer. Like, once we get to summer, as we said at the beginning of our conversation during the state of play, it was like, all right, now is the perfect time for hold on real quick. Now is the perfect time for to have like a real trailer, like a real ass trailer where you show like a whole bunch of stuff. But this is perfect. Like that original trailer was perfect for what it was, but just like as a teaser, which would have been perfect for like a February timeframe. Like, let's say they wanted to really show the full shebang, really make a big explosion on Summer Games Fest, then I had pushed back against the teaser. I was like, I don't need a teaser. But I was thinking truthfully about the Rebirth style teaser, which like didn't really say much. It didn't really like, it was hype, but just to sort of like see, oh, the next game's coming and that's the title. And it was a little teasery to the mystery, but it didn't have the storytelling of the E3 2015 teaser. So when I was thinking teaser, I was thinking of the Rebirth example rather than the remake example. So it would have been nice if this past state of play, they actually gave us that, like a cinematic, what is this? Is this what I think it is? Holy shit, it is. Like that kind of a teaser here, and then full-blown marketing in summer. That would have been ideal. You know, we talk, and you'll see in the video, we get excited about the possibilities of what they could do in, you know, starting in summer, how amazing all the marketing can be, all the trailers can be, all the stage demos at places like TGS, and they will be great, but I just don't know when you fit in something like this, other than maybe as like a final, you know, probably like a 1 minute like teaser / commercial closer to launch. Because now summertime, because sometimes if summertime comes and we only get that kind of vibe, I don't know if that's enough, right? Like I feel like I would probably be disappointed because I know the game already. So it's like, fuck, I want to see the gameplay though. I want to see the high wind. I want to see combat. I want to see combat evolutions. So yeah, I don't know when they would do this kind of thing. But we'll see. We'll see. Unless, I mean, hey, maybe they could do something where it's like E3 2015 style, where it's like, is it? Oh my God, it is. And then they show some gameplay after, like title drop and then like a gameplay montage. You can maybe mix both. Thank you so much, Amano, for resubbing for 8 months. Hamaguchi texted me. He said the title drops Game Awards. Okay, Amano. I mean, I know you worked on the art for Final Fantasy for a couple decades, but like, yeah. Sorry if you already answered this, but are there any rumors about release date? Not really. I mean, people are just guessing. There's no like rumors. Like, I have heard they're aiming for XYZ. At least that I've heard. I think maybe Nate the Hate might have mentioned the anniversary. Thank you again, Red Sarge. But everyone's sort of speculating. Either January, like the end of January, the anniversary, the 30th anniversary of FF7, or just early next year, 2027. And then somebody brought up, I think it was on the Warriors of Hype podcast. They mentioned that January 2027, January 31st, 2027, the actual anniversary day is like a Sunday. So definitely won't release. Yeah, it's a Sunday. So it definitely won't release on the 31st. Either they do like the Thursday or the Friday before, or, you know, just, I guess we'll find out, right? They need to go all in on high wind stuff. Like that's going to be the hook for this game. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I can't wait to get this video done, and share it with you guys. But, we have some stuff to talk about. We will get into the game games pretty quick today, I think, because I already talked so much about this state of play on Thursday, but I do have a little something prepared for you guys because of course I do. I always do. So let's get into it. But I also want to stop stream relatively early today so I can finish editing that video. So I'm aiming for like 5 p.m., 6 p.m. my times. I think that's fair for like maybe an hour and a half of like conversation with you guys. And then playing like some Crisis Core, and I kind of want to overdo some NieR. Like I want a little more NieR than I got last week. Josh Z, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Just do what the Kenna sequel did. Perfect mix of teaser and gameplay. Yeah, that was a very good trailer, and that game looks fantastic. I'm really looking forward to that. I need to finish the first one. Has anybody here finished the first Kenna? I played like about half of it. It was very, very good. But of course, like I said, I'm an overachiever. So I, of course, also squeezed in a little bit of a presentation for you guys. So yeah, so we're here. You finished it and loved it? Nice. So as I stated on my thumbnail on YouTube, if you saw that, also if you are on YouTube, if you could please throw a like on the stream, that always helps with discovery of the stream, discovery of the VOD, and all of that. So I titled this on the thumbnail as State of Pain, and because yes, that is true. This was a feeling on Thursday. Even editing the video, I was like looking back at chat that I may have missed because I was talking to Sleep Easy, and it was a lot of dooming. I mean, there were people who definitely engaged. Some of the, best chats that really opened up our conversation were in chat, or some of the best thoughts that opened up our conversation even more were in chat. So chat was locked in too, but there was also just a lot of like, like you could see that pain. What's up, fam? I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for that music. Writing Iron, I wonder if GTA 6 has anything to do with SE trying this condensed marketing schedule. Maybe they want to really make a big splash with the trailers to go up against an inevitable GTA 6 trailers. See, I actually think that's a pretty bad choice. Like aiming at GTA 6, it's just not smart. Nobody should aim at GTA 6. I do think they are mimicking something else, and I will show you exactly what I think they're mimicking. And I think that they maybe have not fully taken into account GTA 6's timing with these trailers, which I know sounds crazy, but they're not the smartest tools in the shed. I mean, to be fair, supposedly the last thing I heard about the summer marketing for GTA was, I forgot where I heard it, but somebody said that GTA 6 marketing might really be closer to like late summer, like in August. So June, and Rockstar may do this just out of like the fact that they know how automatic their success is in some ways. So what I heard, I forgot where I heard it, but what I heard was supposedly they're going to really start more so in like August, like late summer, which means Summer Games Fest will be about 2 months before. And I think Rockstar is probably aware like of how much, like I said, how guaranteed their success is. And I think that they're probably aware that it's not great to overshadow other games at the same time. There's no need for them to. So maybe they push themselves closer to August to give space for Summer Games Fest and all those other games to sort of at least have some time in the light. And I hope that's what they're aiming for. I think they'll just be best for gaming, to not have that overshadow all of these, studios that are trying to get word out around June. Everyone will be talking about GTA from summer till late December. Yeah. It's not like GTA will show up at Summer Games Fest. They have no reason. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about this. So what the fuck, right? And I built the intro to these slides, like right before starting stream, because I had a thought while taking a shower. So I don't know how smooth this will go, but I just wanted to say, like, first of all, let's remember, right? Let's have some perspective. What I try to do with my channel is provide perspective. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of cynicism out there. There's a lot of like people who capitalize on the moment. And I've always tried to prioritize the quality of what I bring to the table. I could probably turn this into a much more profitable thing if I was much faster as a creator. But that's just not who I am or what I want to do and make. So, my rebirth video took a really long time. It took a year, and I was aiming for like at the very least, like the PC release for dropping my video. Cause I figured, people are going to be like thinking about FF7 Rebirth. And that was like January of last year. 2025. So last year. And I just wasn't done with it. So, I ended up releasing it in like, I don't know, what was it? March, April, something like that. It was over a year since the game's release. And I was like, oh shit, is anybody gonna watch this video? Luckily, you know, the effort that I put into it bore out in terms of you guys watching it and a lot of people watching it. So betting on that quality has always worked for me. So all that's to say, I just didn't want to like feed into, I played into it a little bit with the thumbnail, State of Pain. But I don't want to just do that, right? Instead, I want to provide perspective. I think that's what's really most important. And for, you know, many reasons. So first, you know, FF7 Remake Part 3, you know, we did get that update that, you know, it said it's refining and in the polishing phase. So even if we haven't seen anything yet, and that's really disappointing and upsetting, it's like, dude, we just keep hearing about how well development is going. And then even looking at Rebirth, even if it had like some performance issues at launch, specifically just like how downgraded certain things look, like performance mode looked, it was still a rock solid 60. Even if it had some graphical issues in performance mode, it was a pretty good product at launch, right? We were in an era of like a lot of games having like a lot of issues at launch, and they put out a pretty refined product at launch within supposedly like 3 years, right? They spent a year of the DLC supposedly, and then 3 years on Rebirth. So they put out a hell of a big ass game with a ton of content that was pretty damn polished in 3 years, which is pretty insane. Like, how long has it taken for Kenna, as an example? Like, Kenna, the first Kenna, granted, smaller studio and a smaller game, but Kenna Bridge of Spirits came out, what, 2021, I think? Release date? That came out 2021, September 2021, and the new one is coming out 2026. So that game took 6 years. Rebirth is incredible. I had no bugs. Yeah, I mean, like, a relatively small game. I mean, it's a very, granted, it's a small studio, and it's a very, like, ambitious sort of title, at least, like, graphically, Kenna is. Look at that. Like, that sequel took 6 years. Hi-Fi Rush is supposedly Hi-Fi Rush 2. That's why I mentioned it in my conversation with the Warriors of Hype, which didn't get announced. But like that game as well, supposedly, I mean, they got through a lot of stuff. They were sold off by Microsoft, but they supposedly are still back under Crafton, and they've been working on Hi-Fi Rush 2, they've said, and we haven't heard anything of that. Like, a lot of games take a long time now. So the fact they're pumping these out in about 3 years is pretty impressive, especially at like the quality and the quantity of content. Quantity of content. So it is good to keep this in mind, even if we haven't seen it yet, right? Even something like Tears of the Kingdom took 6 years and it was way less of an evolution as Rebirth. That's a good point. The good news is the game itself is going smoothly. I think the marketing logistics will be the puzzle that's weird to maneuver. And Square has always been weird when it comes to their marketing, right? The other thing to keep in mind is that, like, universally, we just got a very good state of play. Like, what was universally considered a very good state of play, even from like the slot merchants at Game Rant, which I haven't watched this video, but it was like a good thumbnail for, like, I've seen a lot of thumbnails like this, right? And these guys, you know, at least I don't know about these guys specifically, but I've seen a lot of like almost like reactionary headlines from Game Rant that are like clickbaity and sort of negative and all that. And even myself, like, I couldn't even fully lock into State of Play because I was having tech issues. If you were here on the YouTube side, you know that it crashed and I could not get the stream back up. And I was in the background trying to fix the stream on YouTube and I could not figure it out. So I was distracted for a lot of it. But we got a really good State of Play that is universally beloved. People are talking about. There's so many good games that were announced there. A lot of good like follow-ups, even like games that we know a lot about, like a Saros. Usually I think it was actually kind of funny. It was somebody though who mentioned that usually when you see an update to a game, when a game shows up for like the third or fourth time, a lot of times it can be kind of disappointing. It's like, yeah, I already know. That's like why the Deathloop thing is a bit of a meme. If you remember, like, Deathloop was like every show, and it's like, we get it. We've seen this game, we get it. But even Saros showed some stuff that looked really like new and good and interesting, and That's like the third or fourth time you've seen that game. It comes out very soon. Even I would throw out that Marathon looks better, you know? And that game really has been through the ringer. So there's a lot of good stuff. And of course there was the chicken game, belovedly called. A lot of cock jokes online, like cock of war, but the damn chicken game, so funny. A lot of good stuff. I don't know what's up with the chicken stuff, by the way. There are so many chicken things. There's like the chicken grandmother game too. I mean, I'll take it. I love it. It's great. It's funny. Yeah, new Castlevania game, a new Silent Hill, the John Wick game. What's going on, Matt? Yeah, there was a lot of chicken may fry. Yeah. That's probably my favorite nickname for it. Even though it's probably closer to like a Dynasty Warriors type game. There's a lot of good stuff, man. It was a good show. We were blessed in that way, right? And then just also, there's life continues, right? Like we are going to continue to sort of like, look, take perspective again, right? We have roughly this time next year, there's a very good chance that by this time next year, we will have the game in our hands. We will be playing it. Some of us will have finished part 3. And now is a time where we can also sort of like embrace the lives that we currently have, right? And don't lose sight. Don't get like over obsessed. And I say that as someone who makes, content by at least streaming about this game every damn week. But it's good not to like get lost in the vortex and like step aside, live life. Remember, it's just a video game. And there are other more important things. Like an example, I saw like this happened for me yesterday, where I stepped on the scale. I was expecting it not to be progress because I had the pizza on Thursday. I had a bunch of wine on Thursday. But when I stepped on the scale, it was good news. And I have this scale called a Renpho, RENPHO, and it's like a connected scale. So it sort of like tracks all this stuff for you. And so since the beginning of the year, I've lost 12 pounds, which is good for me. Pretty much on the pace that I've been wanting of like 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds a week. So, and just finding little things, right? Little things. It was the pineapple. That's right. Pineapple's health food. So yeah, the pineapple pizza worked. But it's little things. It's, going on walks and climbing stairs, obviously going to the gym, which I have been doing. I had I'm pretty sore today, but it's important to make space for that stuff and make that a progress in other areas of life that you want to make that progress for. So when part 3 drops, you'll feel better. You'll be in a better space. Let's not all get obsessed with just this video game. Even today, like I changed things up. Like I'm pretty sedentary on a Sunday because I wake up fairly late, like at 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I'll like go and get breakfast just at the bodega near me, and I'll get like a bacon, egg, and cheese. It's like I splurge on the Sunday morning, because usually, on stream, I don't really eat usually unless I get super hungry, and it's a long stream. So usually my morning has to like sustain me for the day. But, today I decided, okay, actually I woke up around like 9:30 ish or so. And I was like, you know what? I can go for a bagel. And there's a bagel place, a really good bagel place, like a mile away from me. There are other ones I could go to, but there's one like a mile away. And so I just walked. I walked there, walked back. So I got in like 2 miles and like 5,000 steps before stream. So yeah, it's all about consistency hard, yeah. So we start branching out more on SubTXT, specifically given that we're heading to the final part soon. Yeah, I'm trying to, Drake. That's why I'm playing NieR on stream. That's why I'm going to like do some of the games I want to make a Witcher 3 playthrough video. I'm gonna make an E33 analysis video. So that stuff is in the works for sure. So why all this positivity, right? And it's because, like I said, there's so much negativity out there. Somebody mentioned it in chat earlier of like, we need a title, if only to sort of get these sort of outraged merchants off of us, because they're so bored. All they do is like make, you know, shit content and get angry and post the same things. I joked about it during the live stream, right? Of like, you know, 113 more days of posts about the bald bar. But you know, for me, this is more personal than anything else. You know, when I think back, it's like 10 years ago, literally like 2016, I had pretty much stopped playing video games. I mean, I would play NBA 2K every day. Well, not every day, but I would play like NBA 2K. That would be like my game. And I would just like play it while listening to podcasts and just sort of like, you know, it was just like a little bit of it was a very, very light casual hobby for me. And instead, what I was like super locked into through a lot of the 2010s was like a lot of politics, a lot of news, and I'd be mad about a lot of things. And it's like, oh, why aren't people doing stuff about this and that? And it was just like, so it just dragged me down. Like I was that person who, you probably have one in your life, that would like be texting news articles like, oh my God, did you see this? Yada, yada. And my mind space in that time was so negative, because I was so just pessimistic about everything. And so just being so deep in that, which is not a good place for me in a lot of ways. And so I tried to sort of like avoid things that put me in that space, because ultimately for me, it just doesn't really, I don't know, it doesn't help me. You know, I just get obsessive in the negative. And, you know, I was a big time gamer. So this was me a long time ago at E3. I forget which year this was. But if you haven't recognized that, that was me. I was a fresh faced, like 17, 18, whatever it was, shot on a potato. And like a literal potato. Look at this resolution. It's awful. But I ran like a video game website back in the day. And I was really into gaming. And then, like I said, I, you know, kind of, it wasn't like a profitable thing at all. It was just something I was doing for fun during high school and then a little bit of college. And it was a lot of fun, dude. Like I was at E3. I was here. I was, you know, playing Zelda on the Wii. Look at the old PS3, sort of like in the case. So I did go to an E3. And it was cool. It was fun, you know, it was exciting, but they were letting children's E3. They were. Yeah. So look at you teaching growth and acceptance before Remake Part 3. Yeah. So all to say, like, gaming was always important to me. This is why I've gotten back into it. You know, it has been this overall positive thing for me. And I want to keep it positive, right? It's so easy to get pulled into rage baiting or negativity, or that's the content meta, you know? And I never want to get dragged into that or even treat it as much of a job as I did back then. But you know, this has always been a passion, and I'm just happy to share it. And I'm older now, and I at least have like some damn perspective. And so if there's anything I can offer you guys, it's perspective. Thank you so much, Solid Snake, for 6 months. So that's what I'm trying to do. And so that's what we'll do when it comes to, is it too late? You know, is marketing too late for early 2027? So let's dig into this a little bit. So the Resident Evil franchise is actually a really good model. The world just needs people to like what they like. Yeah. Max had that great tweet. It's been, well, the more viral one has been the clip of him, but he had this like very simple tweet that was like, man, this site sucks. if you like anything, because like this liking things is just, you will inevitably find somebody who is like, that thing that you love fucking sucks, right? Let me tell you all the ways that it sucks. And just it's no fun, man. Yeah, when you get older and other things become more important, it helps keep video games hate/obsession in check for some people anyway. Yeah. People liking stuff is cringe. Yeah, for sure. I feel the more you engage with doom and gloom content, you become doom and gloom. Yes, Jack, that's what happened to me. That's definitely what happened to me. And I just can't do that to myself anymore, you know? But Resident Evil. So they had a reveal trailer for RE7 as perspective. June 13th, 2026 is when they revealed it. And the game came out, if you didn't notice, January 24th, 2017. So they first revealed RE7 in a summer show. It was E3 back then. But in summer, and then it released the following January. I didn't do the animation right. So spoiler, because I didn't do the animation. This is actually RE Village. I didn't update this slide correctly, but Village was revealed June 11th. It came out in May, still first half of the following year. Another example though, again, I messed up the title, but RE Requiem was revealed last June, and then it's coming out in a couple weeks. So very early the following year. So another sort of check mark, that general time frame that we're looking forward to. Capcom is great for having a healthy reveal to release ratio for games at Omega. That's a great point, because we know Capcom is such a great model for reviving a company. And it's one that is like hyper relevant culturally in Japan, right? Like if you're a Square Enix and Capcom is this sort of like perfect case study in how to sort of like revive a franchise and run your company, hence why it's being referenced by, you know, activist investors who are coming in trying to say, hey, these guys are running Square Enix wrong. Look at Capcom, look how they run it. Maybe they're following a little bit of that lead, right? So there's some more examples. So Resident Evil 2 Remake also was revealed June 2018, release January 2019. Monster Hunter World, another Capcom Japanese title, June 2017, release January 2018. Devil May Cry 5, revealed June 2018, released March 2019, so a little bit later in the window. Metro Exodus, which is another just random example, June 2018, release February 2019. It sort of is a little bit of the exception. There weren't that many overwhelming number of examples. There were some shorter windows too. I found some that were like 4 months between reveal and release. Usually that was around like a console launch or something, so there was some kind of exception. Or it was like a follow-up game that, you know, smaller type of title. So all that's to say is like basically it's not impossible. Like it's not impossible that this is the trajectory for a timeline that we're on track for. But you know, there's no way to know. Has an mainline FF ever released that quick? Not necessarily. Rebirth was actually pretty close though. Rebirth was first revealed in June 2022. That's when they did like the teaser, but it didn't show up again. Like the next time we saw it was Summer Games Fest 2023. So we saw it in summer 2023, then it released end of February 2024. So it's Rebirth actually did follow kind of this timeline once you cut out the teaser that they made for a 25th anniversary of the game. Like that teaser was sort of, in my mind, kind of a special exception because they just wanted to do something for the anniversary because it was the 25th anniversary. It was a big deal, you know. if, for example, that year were the 29th anniversary, I don't think we would have gotten that special stream with like all those reveals, including part 3. So did 16 come out fast compared to its reveal? I don't know. We can look it up. Let's see. Hold on. YouTube. Final Fantasy 16 reveal trailer. The reveal for 16 was September 2020. And this is like what, a 2023 release, chat? So, I mean, the reveal was quite a ways before, you know. FF16 release. Yeah, June 2023. I mean, that might have been more of a teaser. Well, this is a 4-minute presentation. God damn, that was 2020. Huh. I think this is part of like the PS6 sort of like run, or PS5 run up. See, PS5 showcase. So they were just like revealing kind of the whole slate of like what's to look forward to on the PS5. But yeah, that was a long, 2020 was the first trailer for this game.
I am Joshua's shield. I'm sworn to protect you.
It showed a lot for how early it was in development too.
What do you mean you refuse? Did you not pledge your sword to our cause?
What does it matter? It was the Dalmex who drove back the Crusaders in the Battle of the Twin Realms, was it not?
Without the blessing of the Mother Crystal, we cannot defend our realm from the spread of the Blight.
So that's 700 goons. Imperial Vipers. Do they really?
It showed quite a bit pretty early. The volume was really low. Yeah, it was purposefully a bit low. My bad.
It's the Archduke's son.
Phoenix.
Joshua! Stop this!
Second icon of fire. But that's impossible.
Disaster video game. It's disappointing that like this was so good. Like this part of the game was so good.
The legacy.
Like 116 really, once it got more into the actual game loop, it was just so, it had such an MMO design that it just dragged down the pacing of it. And I think the story had too many concepts it was going for, you know. I think 16 tried too much. It wasn't narratively, it wasn't as focused as it probably should have been. And it drops some themes. And I think 16 was like so obsessed personally. And I haven't played the older FF games, but like it was so obsessed with like having reverence to the earlier Final Fantasy games, like the crystals and Ultima as like an enemy. And it just, I felt like there was maybe a more interesting story if they chase the characters and sort of the motivations of the actual humans in the world versus ultimately, ironically enough, focusing so heavily on the Ultima aspect of making Ultima the villain. It just forced them to write it in a way that sort of, I don't know. Ultima was such a boring villain, yeah. The biggest combat, oh yeah, the combat for me, it was just so piss easy for me. it was just like not a difficult game, and I had fears with like the rings of accessibility. Nothing against accessibility. I also don't think that's necessarily accessibility. I'm sorry, but like accessibility to me is like if you've seen like the accessibility modes in like Last of Us Part 2 or something, right? Like Tilu 2 accessibility features. Or actually Tilu 2 documentary, where they talk about the accessibility stuff. They have people that they were consulting on it. And so like just making the game easier to me isn't necessarily accessibility.
It's quite heartbreaking when you see people who are like really confused or don't get it, and it's something you think like...
People on the team that have been really passionate about making our games even more accessible for people with different kinds of disabilities and making sure as many people as possible can experience our game.
Accessibility is something that like really touches a lot.
And to be fair, I don't have any disability, so like I'm a little bit speaking out of my zone, but I just found this is a very interesting description of, because when 16 presented the rings, they presented it as an accessibility feature, when all it really did, in my opinion, just made the game a little bit easier. And it's fine, I didn't use them, you know, but like it seemed like their priority was making the game easy to play for a lot of people, especially if they're not used to that types of content.
A lot of people,
but like it also ended up like nuking the like any kind of challenge. They were so focused on like making it accessible to a wide audience, like that was their definition of it, rather than letting it be like you had to beat the game like 3 times to unlock the hardest mode of combat. Not that I really wanted the hardest mode, but it was like I just felt so OP in that game. Like once I got Titanic Block, it was over. Nothing could touch me in that game once I got Titanic Block, especially because the window on Titanic Block and parries and dodges was like so wide to me. It was just so easy. And I think Max has talked about this well in terms of like the enemy design wasn't engaging. You know, like the big problem is like the enemies weren't that interesting to fight. You didn't really need to learn many of them. There were a couple that you sort of needed to like know their moveset, but you didn't really need to learn the enemies. So you just sort of approach most enemies the same way. And really 16, and they said this before release, but they said like 16's combat was really about self-expression. So, and you see that the people who love 16's combat, it's because they just make combos to make combos. There's no enemy that demands you to really like use the systems a certain way. And so it's really up to the player. Like, how flashy do you want to be? You can be as flashy as you want to be, and that's fine. There's a lot of like, it's, somebody broke this down before, but it's like intrinsic motivation versus extrinsic motivation. So, you know, like a Dark Souls game, or, you know, a game like a Neo even, which has a lot of expression in it. The little bit that I played, some of the enemies are tough. You got to like learn their moveset. So, you know, when extrinsic motivation is really about like, the game is forcing me to get better, right? Like I have to get better because of this outside motivator, which is beating the enemies. And then there are games with more intrinsic motivations, which are like, I'm getting better at it just because I want to be better at it. You know, I want to be able to put together a video and post it on Twitter of like a 2-minute long combo where I turn these enemies into sushi just because I'm so good at the game. And there are people that draws some people in. Like there are definitely games that are all about that. But for me, and I think a lot of people, I don't know, it's just not as engaging to me. The thing is this is about 16's combat in particular, how you'd be able to vomit your abilities in the enemies the moment combat began, whereas in games like Remake and Rebirth, you have to build up ATB. Yeah, I mean, it does have a cooldown on abilities, but yeah, the RPG elements are weak. Yeah, it's just, yeah, 16 was overall probably disappointing, pretty disappointing. It wasn't a bad game, but it was like an aggressively okay game. It was like an aggressively okay game. And you could find parts of it that you could love, but yeah, it just, they're like, everyone said it, but like high highs, low lows. I think there were more low lows than high highs, but I wanted that game to be just, I don't know, I wanted it to hit more. There are elements of it, like, look, I did cry in the end, but not the very, very end, but how do I describe it without spoilers? The final conversation between Clive and one character in the end did get to me, but that's also because of, like, I think it was shot really well. Things with like family, I'm a bit of a sucker for that shit. So, and I'm sure most of you played it, so I could probably just talk about it, but you guys know what I'm saying. Like, the voice acting was great. I think there was a lot of like really good elements of it. But it's that almost game, right? It's like, it's just almost. Cinematography was great across the board. I will say that. Like, there's so many moments, dude. I'll just go ahead and spoil like this one part. Just visually, this shit was so sick. Omega Coyote, thank you so much for the super chat. Hold on, is there a message with that? It just says super chat at $5. Was it just a $5 super chat? No message? Hold on. Should be logged into my studio anyway. My YouTube studio. Just double check. Oh, just $5. But thank you so much, Omega Coyote. I was making sure because it didn't show a message in my thing, and so I want to make sure it was just a period. But thank you so much for the $5 super chat. No messages, wants to support. Thank you so much. Yeah, a lot of these streams are very much passion. I don't make much of anything from making content, except for just really the joy of hanging out with you guys and getting to talk about this game and play. So, but this is really cool. This is a cool moment. What the fuck is it?
Great Grigo's gosh! One of us.
On a port! Heads down, you brutes! And brace for impact!
Yeah, I did enjoy a lot of characters. I mean, I actually really liked the quest with Mid, you know, where like the ironically named Mid. But I did like the quest with like her quest line, how it ended. Yeah, like I expected to actually build an airship, but even like seeing like the model airship and like how it related to her, I thought it was pretty decent little side story. Like this shit was sick. It would be nice to control the ship in this section. And that's a great point, Ravnus, because like that is, you know, when I think of like things to move forward in the franchise, I want that feeling. I want that feeling that we're getting in Rebirth, that we've like what we experience in Rebirth as like an overall game loop is the closest to what I want from a modern Final Fantasy. You know, you can, you can really explore the world. There's a ton of extra content in it, a lot of quality mini games. You could, go across the entire map, like I said. And we'll see how they handle Highwind. I know people are like, there are a decent amount of people who are like, oh, I kind of want the world travel of Expedition 33. And maybe that could work when it comes to like the Highwind and airship. And maybe you do need a little bit of what's the word? Maybe you might need like a little bit of a less realistic sort of world traversal once you have like a full airship. But I like the feeling in Rebirth where you were in the world and it was like pretty much 1-to-1 size. And they haven't done a world like that pretty much ever. Like 15's world is pretty empty. You could find some like side combat and stuff. Like you could fight that mountain and shit. But it was a pretty empty world otherwise. A lot of gas stations and diners and this was the first world that felt like the kind of world that I want. I mean, Ether 3 just copied OG FF7 for sure. I mean, not just FF7, but like old school JRPGs. The traditional world map design is what they really use as a base. Even if it's 10 super linear, yeah. I really like 16 despite its flaws. However, hard mode not being available since the beginning was a terrible decision, especially in Mutsune, if I'm saying that right. Especially given the type of combat that 16 had, because Rebirth and Remake also lock hard mode as like New Game Plus. Like you can't play hard mode unless you beat the game first. But that hard mode in Remake and Rebirth at least has the like limitation of no items. So you end up like you need to rely on materia. So having gone through an entire playthrough kind of makes sense because you need leveled up materia and chakra and all that stuff to sort of like get through hard mode because of the item limitation. So it makes sense they force you to do a playthrough. But with 16, it's really about that visceral action. And so I just wanted a hard mode from the beginning so that I could feel challenged. That's again what I meant by like they seem so focused on making it accessible in terms of like ease that they wouldn't even let you play hard mode if you wanted to from the jump. And that seems like an underutilization of the type of combat that they created. The combat is substantially better in hard mode because you need to adapt and try different things. That's much more of the player. I only played a little bit of the hard mode. That's like the Final Fantasy mode, right? The one thing I ran into, because they throw in different enemies and etc. It still felt fairly easy to me. Like I literally, and I did this, I equipped the lowest rated armor that I had in my inventory in hard mode because I just wanted to get hit harder. And when I had my good kit from the end of the base game, I still felt like I wasn't taking enough damage. So there wasn't enough like consequence to the combat. So I literally chose the lowest rated armor that I could so that I could just take some damn damage. And that was hard mode. So it's just, that's crazy to me. And I know you can play Ultimaniac, but again, you need to beat Final Fantasy mode in order to unlock Ultimaniac. And it's like, Jesus. In FF7R, you can still do a normal dynamic mode run without items to get some challenge from the get-go. Sure, yeah, you could if you wanted to. It's really about like, your personal choice in that case, but yeah. Hard mode of 16 still wasn't that fun for me because the enemy design is just so bad. It's not satisfying to fight anything more than bosses. Anything other than bosses, yeah. That's what I did. It was still easy, yeah. Ironically, they didn't nail down the fantasy they were trying to invoke. Bro, I beat the game without taking a single hit. If I got hit, I'd quit to the main menu and load. Wow, Mello. I mean, yeah, you would have to do that sort of like self-imposed challenge. Like I did that with Ghost of Tsushima, where it wasn't exactly that, mellow, but what I did in Tsushima was I started in hard mode, then I eventually went to lethal mode. And then for like an added challenge, I refused to like heal within combat. So, and within lethal's a tricky difficulty in that game because you take a lot more damage, but you also do a lot more damage. So you can beat enemies fairly quickly. You just need to avoid getting hit, really. So anyway, I refuse to like heal, or you have like a second chance ability that you unlock at some point in the game where it's like if you fall, you could do like a combination of buttons, 2 buttons to sort of like revive yourself for like a last chance. And I would just refuse to use it. That was my personal like limitation, was refusing to use the second chance in Tsushima. So if I went down, I went down. I had to restart the encounter. That was like my own self-imposed added difficulty. So some games do, people do that kind of stuff all the time, right? Like what's in Pokemon, people like the Nastuk or whatever it's called, like runs, or in Dark Souls, people run will do like the naked runs, Nuzlocke, yeah. Or in Dark Souls, people will do like basically like a naked run or a level 1 run, So all that's to say, sometimes you do need to put your own challenge on a game. But I felt like 16 they went out of their way. Here's the problem with Final Fantasy in general. And somebody said it earlier. Let me find that chat. Somebody said, it was Labib Zahid, said, SE is too worried about casual players, in my opinion. And I agree. And like the thing that they do in FF almost too much is they're so focused on like, they will go out of their way to help you make the game easier, but they will also go out of their way to make sure you can't make the game harder. So that's what pisses me off, is like, it's not real player control or agency, right? Like giving players the opportunity to make a game easier for themselves, in my opinion, fine. But you also shouldn't restrict me at the same time from making the game a little bit harder. Like you say you want me to play the game in the way that I want, and you make it possible for me to make it easier, but then you don't let me make it harder. And I just don't understand that mentality, especially because like anybody who would self-select to make it harder isn't going to be like, oh, well, shit, this game is too hard. Guess I hate this game. I'm not going to play this game. No. To be honest, I don't think Final Fantasy is hard, at least from the perspective of someone that started playing. They've never been that hard. No, like the games have never been that challenging. And I think that's a problem. Like, not that they have to be hard, but they have to give the optionality for difficulty, because like that makes you engage in the gameplay. Like it's one thing to be engaged in the story, and I think they've said that, right? They've said that we want people, when it comes to Final Fantasy games, to be focused on the story on their first playthrough. And it's like, that works in a time, and I felt like I read this somewhere. Nice Guy Prince shared something where it was like, there are people who believe that the hook of Final Fantasy should be like the story. And I get it. We talk about the story all the time, but this isn't the late 90s anymore, where like having a story in a game is incredibly novel and unique and like breakthrough on its own. There are a million story focused games. I could go play a million games that have good stories. Like having a good story alone is not enough to propel this franchise. You need good gameplay, and Rebirth has amazing gameplay. Remake had good gameplay. Rebirth has really great gameplay. It can still get better, and you need to make the playing of the game also a motivator rather than just the story, right? It's the interplay of mechanics and story that's the hook. Yes. I think that's one of the franchise's main issues currently. Back in the day, Final Fantasy was a story game. Yeah, it was like the story game. So it's like, if I want a story, I played Final Fantasy. That is how I got into FF. That is literally how I got into Final Fantasy, But now I can get into God of War, The Last of Us, you know, the Western RPGs, the, you know, Oblivions or Elder Scrolls and Witcher, and, you know, there's a million games that give me a good story. I need good gameplay too, you know? Sure, a good story in an RPG is important, but if the gameplay sucks, it's going to lose steam, yeah. Speaking of, like, making the games harder, I really want to do a new threat run one day. I've been watching Blitz play a little bit of it. It's super, super cool. I focused on, like, the translation for my playthrough, but man, I really want to play new threat. Like, the mechanics are so cool. Like, the sort of like special abilities that the characters have is so cool. But yeah, speaking of playing games, that was really it for like my little spiel before stream, because this is all I had left. All I had left was this. I was saying, you know, it's not impossible that we're still aiming for early next year. And in the immortal words,
so you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
That's it. That's where we are, folks. Like I said, it was gonna be a shorter, like, conversation part of the stream. What do you think of Silu's gameplay? I got bored of it halfway. It depends on which Last of Us. Like the first Last of Us, yeah, I can see you getting bored. I think the Last of Us Part 2's gameplay is really good. I think the enemy AI is very good. I think the sort of like your loadout is more interesting. The stealth stuff is really good. Last of Us 2's gameplay in particular, I think is very, very good. Last of Us 1 is pretty straightforward and it's not like super replayable. But for 2, I really like it personally. All right, so with that, I'm probably gonna run to the bathroom real quick, and then we'll start Crisis Core. I'll probably play a little bit less of Crisis Core this week, and play a little more NieR in the time that we have. Deciding to play 2 games in one like per stream is a little aggressive. I'm looking forward to being done with Crisis Core, but we'll get there. SubTXT says before, but do you think Sephiroth will be playable in Part 3 in incapacity? I really don't know. I mean, maybe, probably. Like, they already made his combat system work, so I can see them wanting to give you an excuse, even if it's just like in a simulator thing. Within story, I don't know, unless there's like a flashback Ever Christ type sequence where they let you sort of like experience something from Sephiroth's past to sort of like give you some more context on him. Maybe they can do that. The sooner you get the Crisis Core, the sooner you can be fully in NieR. I know. Yeah, we'll see. I just know the next portion of Crisis Core is like a little blah. Like, I have to I just end up I gotta do the sniper thing and shit. But we'll see. All right, give me 1 second, chat. Let me just run to the bathroom. Yeah, Sephiroth, I thought about that. Just recording the part that's not that great. Problem is, I was editing all weekend, so I couldn't really spend time playing through that part. I just don't know how they could fit all the story that is left in one game. The pacing is going to be wild, and that's not a factoring any new stuff they want to put in. I mean, the good thing is, I feel like Rebirth, because it was so mapped to the original like structure of the story, it spent almost too much time just having fun. And the story doesn't really kick in until, you know, fairly late in the game. So pacing wise, it's going to be a little bit the opposite of Rebirth, which I think is a good thing for the most part. All right. Far more story focused, but still have a worry there's so much left. I mean, playing the OG again on stream, I realize, and sorry, it's not that I don't want to engage with the question, because I've thought the same thing. It's just that I've talked about it a lot. So I'm like, how much have people heard my perspective on this already? And what else do I have to say about it? But the long and short of it is, I've been replaying the OG on weeknights, and the thing I've noticed about this too is there's a whole lot of stuff they can rewrite, like, because like the huge material plot line takes up quite a good amount of the story, but like the nature of the huge materia in the remake trilogy is different. It's not a situation where, you know, hold on, as an example, it's not a situation where like in the OG, regular materia was like this cup of coffee, and then the huge materia was like this cup of coffee. Like that was really the difference between regular materia and huge materia, was like this. It's now the huge materia are like these giant fucking like building sized pieces of materia stuck to a weapon. So, and they haven't hinted at any other form of like huge materia. Like they're literally huge now. And so you don't easily just fit it on a train or fit it in a spaceship. And so narratively, I think we'll still be on a train, in a submarine, in a spaceship, but the reasons for those set pieces will be different. And so they can write in a lot of stuff. They can fit in a lot of like the Wutai War stuff. They can fit in some of the deep ground stuff. They can fit in a lot of stuff and rewrite a lot of things. Because a lot of this too, outside of like the core things, and the core things being like Whirlwind Maze, live stream sequence, Return to Midgar, Return to Forgotten Capital, like those are the core, like heavy story bits. The in-between, I feel like, can be pretty heavily rewritten. And I think they can make it into a pretty smooth thing. It'll probably, and I do hope they just go ahead and just make it longer then. But I don't think it's an outrageous amount of content. And then when we've shown this before, and I actually literally broke down like number of pages, and this is only like one example of it. So it's not scientific necessarily, but I have the strategy guide, the OG FF7 strategy guide, and I broke down the number of pages in terms of what the first game has covered. And believe it or not, the Midgar portion of this strategy guide is pretty long. It's pretty long. So it's something like, I forget the exact numbers, but Remake was essentially something like 47 pages of the OG strategy guide. Then Rebirth covered about like 55 pages of the strategy guide. And then part 3, what's left, covers like 51 pages of the strategy guide. So it's actually pretty even cut, at least in terms of like cutting up the strategy guide as an example. Not that it's exactly 1-to-1 in terms of like the depth of that content, but it's a reassuring, I guess, like example of the ratio of like what's left, if that makes sense. Do you think we'll have proper underwater travel? I hope so. Well, let me grab the chat and make it pop. Okay. Cloud's all fucked up. Oh, I'm sorry, my guy. Oh, the study. Researcher's Diary #1. Here I am, banished to this remote country town. I came all excited about participating in Professor Hojo's top secret experiment, but now they tell me the procedure has already ended. They won't even tell me what the procedure was. What am I doing here then? Well, as long as I work under Hojo, there's a chance to move up, so I'll have to be patient. It's funny that this note of like, as long as I work under Hojo, there's a chance to move up, so I'll have to be patient. Shit, where was... It wasn't in Nibelheim, right? Like Vincent and Lucrezia's... Where did that take place? Like, whose diary is this? Is there any chance this is Lucrezia's? Where did they do their work in Dirge? I don't remember. If it's... Yeah, I don't know. But I don't know if this is Lucrezia, but what's written in this note reminds me of Lucrezia in terms of like the, as long as I work under Hojo, there's a chance to move up. So I have to be patient. Because people bring it up all the time, right? Like, how did Lucrezia choose Hojo over Vincent? And it's really that she chose her career over Vincent. Like she was very passionate about being a scientist. So this is like an example of that thought. God, I really thought we would be able to read the library in Rebirth. Square's taking a new round in terms of marketing. At the end of 2026 summer, we'll see a glimpse of FF7 Part 3 teaser video. Sky, I don't know if you're saying that with like inside info. The way it's written feels like inside info, but that's way too late for like a teaser. You know, you gotta do more than a teaser in end of summer. And then what is end of summer? There's no existing show. The gaming shows in summer are in like June, unless they did their own show, but I can't imagine them doing their own show. TGS is September. I guess it's technically also considered summer, at the end of summer, but got it from Max. Okay. I don't know. I don't recognize the name, so I mean, waiting till then feels like too late. Personally, I think they have to go for some Games Fest. I'll be surprised. And what event are you proposing it would be? Because end of summer, like I said, there's not really any options. You have like Gamescom in August, but I think Gamescom is too small of an event. If you consider September part of summer, then you have Tokyo Game Show. But Tokyo Game Show doesn't really have like a global reach anymore. Like it's not like that. It's not that kind of a show, like where like straight up announcements happen. So I don't really know. Games Fest equals tease, man. If it's just a tease at Games Fest, that's fucking kind of crazy to me. Unless it's like that E3 2015 tease that was like really exciting. Just was too little. Unless the game's just coming out late 2027 or middle 2027. That's definitely not an insider. Yeah, I mean, he was saying he thought it was going to be Games Fest, State of Play. And I think he avoids any kind of info like that. Global marketing will start by actually, for sure, Hamaguchi-san said it himself. This is the year of FF7. I'd be shocked if they tease it end of summer. I agree. SE usually don't show anything new for TGS. They do like a deep dive, right? They did a deep dive in TGS 2023. They did like a big stage demo for like 30, 45 minutes or whatever it was. But they actually showed the new trailer at the State of Play that happened like a week or two before. Remember when TGS used to be way more relevant for games news? Yeah. The recent string of destruction, links to dead soldier operative. The recent string of destruction has thus far been pins on an anti-Shinra group, but new findings point to Genesis, the soldier operative who was supposedly killed in action, as being tied to all the incidents. First of all, the targets were not limited to Shinra facilities. Additionally, all of the targeted locations have clues indicating that the perpetrator was searching for something. Genesis is known to have been a devotee of Loveless. Some believe Loveless may hold the key to solving the mysteries behind this violent string of events. If we are in the worst timeline, Game Awards, I think, will be the gameplay trailer with the release of end of 2027. Yeah. That would be the worst timeline. For sure, the worst timeline. Yeah, we went through all those Resident Evil timelines, Mello, and there have been a couple of Resident Evils that they've done where they, like RE7, RE9, and RE2 Remake, where they revealed it in June, and then the following January or February is when the full game came out. I think a small tease is okay if they end up very quickly turning around and give us a big trailer. It was just, here's the thing about a small, especially